Hey, Jackson, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Lacey.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you. We had a chance to meet and have a discussion about what you're doing, and I knew immediately that I wanted to have you on the MILMO Show to talk about it. I think it's fascinating. As a fellow Air Force veteran, at your age, I don't know what your age is, but I know it's younger than me. I feel like you are doing a lot more than I did when I got out. So I want to start by asking you, what made you decide to join the Air Force, and what did you do while you were in?
Yeah, so actually, I joined the Air Force because my ex-girlfriend's parents both did air traffic control. They started in the Air Force, and then, they got out after, 10 years and went to the FAA. And that was my plan to do that route. So that's why I initially joined because of them. And I did air traffic control for the 2 years that I was in. I was eventually medically DQ'd from it and chose to get out of the Air Force, but that's why I joined because of them.
Wow, that's a tough job.
It is, yes. It's high stress. They say, there's some of the most depressed people. I don't know how true that is, but everyone I met was pretty happy, so.
Okay, well that's good to know because they're in the military and that's that's where we want
Yes,
them.
right.
But I have been sitting on the tarmac at in Atlanta and you just see the planes like stacked up coming in, going out, and I always think like somebody or group of people are in charge of making sure this all goes right.
Well, and that's a great example too because Atlanta is probably the busiest FAA place there is, at least for being in the tower. There's a difference if they're in the tower actually on the airfield or if they are out, in a building and they're doing the stuff in between the airports. But Atlanta is one of the biggest towers in the United States, so that's a great example. When I landed there, actually, I was looking at the pattern and so many aircraft coming in and out, and it's just like it takes a special type of person to be able to do something like that. So I'm very
Yes.
thankful for the people willing to do
Yeah.
that.
I waited tables at Chili's and I thought that pressure was a lot, like to
That
remember
is
and like
it.
he
No, that also is.
Yeah. Did you ever think about
100%.
going combat control? That's a whole
I
different world.
right, that's a whole different world. It's just like a small piece of air traffic control with all of the physical stuff, and that takes a more special type of person, I think.
Yeah.
I've always thought that's really cool, but yeah, that might be a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, that's
So I
yeah, definitely
respect
have
those people for sure, though.
yeah, a double skill set there.
Oh, 100%.
So we're going to get into kind of what you're doing right now, but did you decide that you wanted to go into entrepreneurship when you were in, or like being medically put out? Was that the contributing factor to looking into entrepreneurship? Because I'm kind of curious, were you already working on Benefitry, I'm going to say it right, Benefitry, when you were in, or did you come up with the idea after you got out?
Yeah, I came up with the idea the last couple months because I was dealing with, like, I was getting medically DQ'd, and there's a lot of benefits that come with that. And, I was on Reddit, I was on all these sites, and I was like, how is there not a thing that, tells you every single benefit that you qualify for? And so I didn't start building it when I was in the Air Force, but I got the idea to build it once I got out. And when I got out, I actually didn't start immediately. I worked with a buddy who does HVAC stuff for businesses. So I worked with him for a bit, and it taught me some of the skills that I needed to actually build this software. So I was just surprised that this didn't exist, to be honest.
And you know what? When you showed it to me, I was actually, for somebody that's been around a little bit longer than you, I thought, why didn't somebody do this sooner? It's kind of like, a half dozen eggs or like, half spaghetti. Like, why didn't anybody think of like doing it
Right.
before? But did you have like a tech background? Like, how did you know how to do this? That's what
Yeah,
I was questioning. I had a lot of questions.
yeah, for sure. I think the difference is with AI getting better and better, it makes it doable without a funded team. So before this, you would have needed, multiple developers, and you would have needed millions in funding just because everything's so scattered. Getting it all into one place, with a team without AI, I mean that would cost a lot of money. So I think the AI opened up the opportunity for a normal person like me to do something like this. Obviously, maybe it takes a little bit of being a little bit technical, maybe, but it made anyone be able to do something like this. Like, you could go and probably do something like this if you if you wanted to, if you committed to it. So it just opened up the opportunity for anyone to be able to go and scrape all these 4,000 plus benefits from the website and put them all into a database. So
Yes, I guess I probably should have started with that. And can you explain what Benefitry is before I kind of get into this next line of questioning so people understand what it is that you do?
yeah, so basically what it is, it's an app. It's on the App Store. There's also a web application, and it is you do a couple onboarding questions, right? So you're gonna, when did you serve? How long did you serve? Was it combat service? Everything like that. It takes about 2 minutes, and then it's gonna tell you how much in benefits you qualify for if you use every single one. And you'll get into the app, and you can look through. Personally, on my account, I have hundreds of benefits, and I can scroll through every single one of them. I can click it, and I can be brought to the actual .gov link for that specific benefit. And then there's also a feature that will actually help you fill out drafts for your application. It's going to tell you everything that you need to go and apply for that benefit. So it's not actually doing it for you, but laid out perfectly. All you have to do is make a couple phone calls, fill out the official VA forms, and it just straight lines the process of, not knowing to being able to apply for tons and tons of benefits that you qualify for, just like that. And another couple of features is calculators, everything like that. Basically, my goal is to make it, if someone's using Rocket Money, Monarch Money, Copilot Money, I want their transition here, if they're military, to be smooth. So you can connect your bank account with Plaid. You can track your subscriptions, your recurring, your loans, your mortgages, everything like that. Just basically making the transition smooth for military members, because they get everything. They don't just get what Rocket Money's doing with the subscriptions and stuff. They'll get all their military benefits, because that's a huge part of their financial picture. All military members know that's a big chunk of it. So they're able to see everything.
Can you give an example of what's if we put in my information, and I mean, I didn't do combat. I did a half a day in Bosnia. That's how old I am, Jackson. But what would it start doing, potentially?
Yes. Are you asking what your specific number?
It starts, because most people know. Okay, let me back up. What does it not do? What does it not do? Because you told me there's something it doesn't do that most people think about when it comes to benefits.
Yeah. So the whole thing with this company is stay away from filing VA claims. So the AI is hard-coded never to help with that, because I leave that all to the people who should be doing it. It's a big gray area right now. There's a lot of companies pushing the limits, and my pledge was never sell user data and never work with these companies and never file claims. So those are the hard stops. If you try to do anything like that, it's not going to do it for you.
But so is it showing you education benefits? Would that be does it show federal? Does it show state? What are some things, and maybe some examples of benefits that people often don't know that they even are eligible for, but they find out by using Benefitry?
Yeah, so I mean, it's all sorts of benefits. I'm still getting more and more. There's tons. It gets so specific to if you're in this county and it's really hard to capture every single one, but I'm gonna get there, and I'm already a decent way there. So, but yeah, education benefits, VRNE is usually the biggest one. It holds the most value usually on most people's profiles. And then one thing I did notice is over half of the 100% rated people in my database didn't know about the dental, the VA dental stuff, and they were actually enrolled, and then they enrolled in that. So those were the biggest ones that I noticed. And the average person finds $6,000 a year recurring that they're missing out on.
What is VRNE for people that aren't familiar?
Yeah, so VRNE is basically a program where there's the GI Bill and then there's VRNE. So for me specifically, I'm entitled to less than 100% of the GI Bill because I got out early. So what VRNE does, if you have a service-connected condition, I believe it's over 10%, might be 20%, but I think it's 10%. You can get VRNE, and they'll pay for all of your tuition. This could be a trade school. This could be, what I'm doing, a 4-year school. And they'll pay for all your books, your housing, everything at the 100% rate. And they'll even sometimes go and get you laptops. They'll get you desks, anything you need that's going to, be accessible for your disability, basically. So it's like the GI Bill, but you get everything, and their goal is to lead you to employment.
Well, I was going to ask the question, why do you think it's difficult for someone to get a complete picture of the benefits? But you kind of already touched on that. It's like there's different counties, different states, federal, all of these things. But what about, does your program help people that, let's say retired somewhere and your child's going to school in another state? Like, is it tracking all those type of things? I'm sure you're still building on it, like you mentioned earlier, but.
Right. That's the hardest part. Obviously, it accounts for dependents and it accounts for pretty much anything you can have. But I mean, if you're living in one state and there's a kid in a different state, that's where it kind of gets, kind of blurry. But I don't think the benefits really change for your dependents if they're in a different place. I think it's more where you are. I think that's how correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I think they based on where you actually are, not your dependents. So there's a lot of complexities, like you said, that still need to be worked through. There's actually another company. I don't know if you've heard of it. I think it's called Turbo Vets or something. They're doing the same type of thing in a way. They're still early access, and they got like a pretty stacked group of people doing it. Former SEALs. So I'm curious to see how that turns out. I think they're more in the government contract area. So we'll see. We'll see what that's able to do. I'm interested to compare it side by side. But so it proves that this is a thing that, has been pushed off for too long. So.
Yeah, definitely. What do people need to use the program? Like, do they need their DD 214 or,
Yeah,
I don't know.
mean, yeah, they don't really need anything. They just need to answer like 10 questions, and it filters them down through using those 10 questions. So if you answer this question in a certain type of way, the next question is gonna be different for everyone else. So it's personalized. The onboarding's personalized to get the most specific things about you, and then you can go into your profile and fill out the rest if you want it to be even more specific. So you'll get down to every single benefit that I have wired up.
How long does it take?
About for the onboarding, like a minute and a half, 2 minutes max.
Okay.
Honestly, like under a minute if you're going quick.
And it's mainly for it's for veterans, but would
Right.
you say, like, we come from totally different generations of service. So would it be helpful to somebody like me or somebody even further ahead of me, like a Vietnam veteran, compared to you that are basically recently got out of the military?
I don't think there's a difference personally. Obviously, we would qualify for different things, but it's for veterans, active duty, National Guard, Reserve, even spouses can go through it. They're going to get obviously less of a dollar value, but spouses can go through too and see everything that they're entitled to as well for, their significant other serving.
I cannot imagine how difficult it is to, one, find all of the things, but then how are you staying current? Because stuff changes all of the time. Like, what does that look like? And then how does that figure into, is this a one-time thing people sign up for? Or is it something they should come back and check on every other year? Or how does that all work?
Yeah, so all of the data in the entire database is set on crons. What a cron is basically when it hits this time, you're going to go and refresh. So that's the simplest term for it. So all the calculators are set on crons. All of the benefits are the disability, the yearly increase on the disability. Everything is set on a refresh. So that's how we stay updated with the most current stuff. It's like 24 hours max. It'll be outdated. Hopefully quicker than that. And it's a one-time thing. But if there's hundreds of benefits, and there's the AI caseworker, so you're not going to be able to get through all those benefits in one session. There's no way. So that's why most people are going to come back. They're also going to come back for the bank feature because, that's how people use Rocket Money. That's how a lot of people are using this app too if they're military. So those are the main things that drive people back, is finishing out their benefits because there's a ton there. And there's also, you get notified when things change. So I think on August 1st, they update the the education benefit numbers. So they're going to get a notification about that as well.
Okay, so they're
Yep.
because they're given their email, so they're going to get the updates for it.
Right, and the iOS notifications that you get, from any app from the App Store.
This seems like a massive undertaking to build something like that, but I mean, also to just helping a lot of people because you're right. There are so many people that don't realize their benefits. I mean, there are still Vietnam veterans that
Right.
are just getting some of their benefits. So, what have you like? Maybe some lessons you've learned along the way building this, like kind of going into business for yourself. Like you're doing this all by yourself, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for somebody that's on active duty that's thinking like I want to get into something tech or to do something like this or just take an idea and make it real, what are some things you've learned in your advice for other people?
My advice is everyone has this friction when it comes to going and starting to do content on Instagram because, they don't want their friends to see it. They're nervous about that. But that's the only reason anyone's been able to see this product. It's a great product, but it doesn't matter if no one can see it. So that's where all of my distribution is through my social medias. And I've been able to grow a lot over the last 4 or 5 months. And without that, I probably wouldn't be on this podcast because no one would know about the product. So that's my biggest thing is just go and upload. Who cares? You'll figure it out. And if you continue to upload every single day, I've uploaded every single day for 4 months. So that's how I'm getting people to see the app. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Just go for it and start recording videos. I didn't even build I didn't even build the software. That wasn't my plan. My plan was I had the idea of all the benefits, but just upload every single day. Maybe I had some guides, some free guides, but I uploaded and then I continued to work on the software at the same time and kind of just, mesh them together.
Can you talk about the type of content? Like you're saying you're uploading every day. And there are some people that really struggle, especially in the military community. It's, we lean more towards being private people and not advertising stuff. It's drilled into us not to give away too much because there's a lot of things that people could then know. So what type of stuff did you start with? And like, what are you doing now?
Yeah, I've done pretty much the same type of thing since I started. I find a benefit that, I take one from my app usually that most people probably have never heard of, and I make a video explaining how it works, what you'd be entitled to if you used it, just a bunch of things like that. I do some more fun ones too. I do tier list videos where I'm rating, Navy bases, Army bases. So those ones usually do a little bit better as well. You kind of have to mix the educational part with the entertainment if you want to see growth, at least from what I've seen in this niche. So I try to mix it up.
What about people that maybe feel like they don't have a good personality, they don't have a good sense of humor, and they don't have anything important to say? What's your advice for them? Because it's really, I think you're dead on saying that right away, your advice for people, because I mean, that's something I even struggle with. It's just like social media is not my thing. I personally don't use it a ton. It is great for business, but it is hard to put yourself out there like that. But more and more, a business requires some type of branding, the person, like especially now with AI and all the videos, is like, are you a real person?
Mm-hmm. What I would say to that is if you go and look at my first videos, my first 10 videos, like it's a whole different video. It's not even the same person. So I would say I had the same problem, and I think a lot of people do, like you said, but once you do 100 videos, once you do 110 videos, you kind of get past that. Your voice sounds more natural and you're less embarrassed. I mean, it is, my first videos are extremely bad when you look back on them. So just the same type of thing, just go for it because you're going to improve. Everyone's going to improve if they're doing it every single day.
Do you think that, how much time do you spend on it? Like, creating content versus working on the actual work, because that's a whole nother thing. I mean, the social media would be more marketing. And like you said, if nobody knows about it, they're not going to be able to use it, which is such a good point that, you could have a really great product, but if you aren't banging drums and getting, people to pay attention, then that is a problem. But how are you balancing that?
Yeah, the content is, well, first of all, I'm leveraging AI as much as possible. when it comes to researching for these benefits. So a lot of the scripts I'm verifying them with AI because I want to give the most accurate information. So the content planning is taking care of a lot through my research, verifying it with, and then the app is starting to slow down a little bit just because like my personal work on it, because I've gotten to a point where, it's at the point where it can do everything it says, and I'm going to add features. I need to add a lot more benefits. My guess is there's probably another 2,000 benefits still. These are the ones that no one's probably ever heard of, and I'm going to get them on there. So I'm not complete. I'm not completed with the app. There's a lot to do, but yeah.
What's your advice for people that listen that want to try to use your app? And you said you can use it on your phone, like, or an iPad. It's an app, but also you have a desktop that people can use. Is your advice for people that are like, I don't think I need to do that? Because there's probably a lot of older veterans that are like, oh, I know all of my benefits. I can hear the doubters now.
Yeah. What I would say is this is what I do every single day. This is all I've done. And I don't even know all the benefits I qualify for. Like, I have them there, but I haven't looked through all of them. There's so many. This could be like the only thing you care about in the entire world, and you still would barely know. There's so many. And the thing I would say to older veterans too is a lot has changed when they got out of the military. They might not even had some of the scattered benefits. So they're potentially missing out on even more than someone who's getting out more recently, because stuff is starting to get a little bit better, where you can see everything in maybe a couple sites. But at the time, maybe that didn't exist. I'm not exactly sure, but it's all the same for older veterans and someone that's active duty right now, not even a veteran. So.
Do people's accounts that they set up like hold information? So for example, like your life cycle depends on the benefits that you might qualify for, but you can't actually execute it. So it might, let's say, be education benefits, for example, for your spouse or for your dependents. How does that track? So if you're like 22 years old and don't have any, maybe not married yet, but I guess that's not a good example. Maybe you're married, but don't have children yet, or, your spouse isn't thinking about going to school. Does it save it in there? Does it just flag like, hey, you could have this one when it's time?
Yeah. First of all, if you're already using a benefit that it's telling you that, that it found you, you add it to your stack. So you can track everything that you're currently using as well. You're adding it to your stack. And so basically if you already have the benefit, you just add it to your stack, but all the other benefits you could still qualify for. Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah. So can you explain that more? The stack. That's kind of what I was trying to get to, is like, it's saving it in there, like what you're qualified for, and that you might not use it right now, but it still has been flagged or identified. And that's what you're saying. You put it in your stack.
Right. So your stack is basically everything that you're already using. So you're going to put in, let's say, your rating. That's going to be in your stack by default, because you're already qualified for that and you answer that question on onboarding. And so basically how the page is laid out is all the things you qualify for. Let's say there's 700. And then the next one says you almost qualify for this. So there's another like 300 maybe there. And then I have like 1,200 that I don't qualify for. So it breaks them up. Like if you had maybe 10% more disability rating, you'd unlock some of those close to qualifying for. And then you can add some of the ones you qualify for to your stack if you apply for that, either using the caseworker on the app or you just do it on your own.
How much does it cost?
It costs either $39.99 for the entire year or $10 a month, trying to keep it competitive with Rocket Money. And the question I always get, and I would love to address this, is, people say, well, why can't it be free for veterans? And I do love that question, because I would be thinking the same thing.
Because that's how a lot of veterans think, is like it should be free.
Right. And my answer to that is with the AI caseworker, that cost me a lot of money. People using those API tokens, especially before it wasn't as bad. We had a normal default AI that you could ask pretty much anything, but it wasn't wired up in a way that's going to help you make these PDFs to apply for things. So ever since that's been added, it's like skyrocketed the price, obviously, or the price for me that I have to
Your
spend.
costs.
My cost, correct. And, there's hosting, there's the, 3 months that it took me. And I want to say this in a way, if a platform or software is free for veterans, they're making money, and not all, but they're usually making money by selling your data or selling your information. And that's just the truth about it. So I'm not doing that. And, there is a price to it. But even these free softwares, obviously not the ones affiliated with the VA or all that, but these other free softwares, they're gaining something. They're making money off you in some way.
Yes. In addition, you are taking all the risk. Like, it's like a business. Like, you took the risk, you took your idea, and and ran with it. So and I was just laughing because that's unfortunately our own community does that to each other. It's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
we should get this for free. Well, no, it's actually of value to you. You mentioned, most people get like 6,000 a year in benefits. That's a lot of money, especially somebody living paycheck to paycheck or that is struggling to maintain work due to issues from their military service. So I don't think $40 a year is a lot to come back with $6,000 worth of benefits. And I know not everybody will get that, but I just wanted to give people an idea of what that costs.
For sure. Yep.
Something you said there made me think about, like, when you had this idea, how did you go from idea to start? Like, was there because I mean, looking back on both businesses that I've started, like, there's a point where you have to pull the trigger. And it's like, do I want to pull the trigger? And it's like, was there something that just made you go for it? Or was it just like you were just worn out thinking about it? So you're like, I either got to go or stay, whatever it's going to be. How did it work for you?
Yeah, I think it was a mix of both of those things. When I was at the end of my service, I came up with the idea. And then, so I was thinking about it for a while. And like I said, I started working for that HVAC. Basically, it was they order parts. I don't want to get too deep into this because it's unrelated, but a lot of HVAC and home appliance repair companies are ordering parts all the time, and they have employees that are ordering the parts. So I was working by basically, helping their workflows using AI. And I finished.
Well, I could see that. I recently had to have my air conditioning unit, and it was like a
Yeah.
part thing. And the guy, I did think like that was a lot of information about parts and stuff like that. And then he ended up like having it in his van, which
Yeah.
saved me like a lot. So anyway, so I appreciate that.
Yes, yeah. So there's they're always ordering parts. If they come and fix your fridge, they got to order a part for that. So it was basically to help these employees and automate most of the process where the employees aren't doing anything. And so I ended that business, and that's when I'm like, okay, this is the time to do what I've been thinking about for the last couple months. And I just went at it, and the early versions were extremely rough, but I feel like I've gotten it to a point where it does everything it says it does, and there's room to add more benefits and stuff, but it's in pretty good shape.
Yes, I love that. And so you were already working in the AI world using technology to streamline something, a different type of business, but ultimately that's what you were doing. So that's super cool that you applied that. I could ask you a million more questions, but I won't keep you all day. But for anybody that's listening, that's sitting on an idea, thinking about something, because I think that's really cool what you did, like what you have done.
Yeah.
Is not only that you had this really great idea that you implemented it, but it's also really helping our community to help find things that they wouldn't know about. And it's kind of like, even as a financial professional that helps the military community, every day, every week, I find something new. Like, there are so many things. I'll be like, dang, I didn't know that was available. And so there's possibilities like in what you're doing, like helping other people. So if somebody's listening and they're like got an idea but are sitting on the fence, what would you tell them?
I would say build a plan on what you want to do and just execute it, because it's really like not that difficult. And this goes for everything. This doesn't have to be, anything to do with veterans or, this area. I mean, build the plan and execute it. I guarantee you, if you execute it for longer than you normally execute stuff, like, for example, like I've started a lot of businesses like growing up, and it's like, you're so committed for like a couple weeks, and you never get to the point of like where it flips. Like, I truly believe anything can work to some extent. Some things are going to make more money, maybe some things are going to be more valuable, but I think with pretty much anything is viable if you stick with it long enough. And that's all it is. Some days my videos do horrible and I don't get a ton of people on the app, right? But it's just a numbers game, so.
Yes. I love that. I always think like about what I do, like putting yourself out there, putting out shows, like not everything is a home run every time. And I think about whenever I start to get down or like doubt myself, I think about music. Like I love country music. I love Jason Aldean. I don't love every single Jason Aldean song. It's just, or whoever your favorite artist is, whoever it is, it's like they're awesome, like, or you think this way of them, you're huge fans, but it's just like, okay, they got to keep churning out songs, they got to keep performing, like, sometimes they're sick when they perform, so it's not their best performance, or they've got something going on in their family and they're distracted or whatever it is. So I don't think, I love your point that you're making, like, it's not gonna all be great all the time, but like going for it, I think is the bigger point.
100%. Yep.
Okay. Are there any other questions that people ask you all the time that I have not touched on? Because you said that earlier, and I'm like, I don't want to miss a good question.
I think, like I said, the biggest one was the pricing, which I kind of already explained.
Okay.
I think that's the big one. I mean, obviously, a lot of the comments have different types of questions, but it's more personal questions. It's something
their
about
situation,
their personal situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, perfect. Then I really did an amazing job at my job. So
For sure.
Just
100%
kidding.
you did.
Okay. I want to ask you a couple quick random questions I ask everybody. First off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life or your work easier?
I mean, I think we've already talked about it, but probably Claude Code. That's part of my, content creation and also the app. So that's probably my favorite tool is Benefitry, but I think the most useful tool for my workflows is Claude AI. So.
Okay, that's good to know because I've been looking into the best way to use AI to code because long story, I'm building an app and there's another one, I forget what it is. So did you try two different ones or did you just know that was the one I've drawn a blank on what the other one I was looking at.
Codex. That's the OpenAI version of Claude Code. There's Cursor. Trying to think what else.
Maybe it was Cursor. What about the Chat GPT's coding?
That's Codex. So
that's Codex. Okay, that's what it is. Yeah.
Probably what it is. I think that's the other popular one.
What made you decide on Claude? Were you already just using Claude for AI?
Yeah, I was using it for the HVAC stuff, so I already knew the interface and stuff.
Okay. That's good to know. In case anybody's thinking about coding their own app, like that's good information. Okay, what is your favorite book right now or your favorite book of all time?
Well, honestly, I'm not a big reader, but obviously we have a ton of books from our childhood, so probably.
Or do you have a favorite website? Do you read are there like a newsletter that you love?
Well, I could find a book from my childhood.
Okay.
Probably The Magic Treehouse. I read almost all of those books growing up. So maybe I'll read more in the coming years, but right now I'm not reading a lot. So
yeah,
that
well, it
was
sounds
one of
like
my favorites from childhood.
Yeah, it sounds like you're working a lot, and I'm sure you do have to read and research a little here and there. So
yeah.
That's why sometimes I say like favorite website because I do that now, read a lot of newsletters because they have curated the subject that I'm interested in. So it's like, why would I go elsewhere right now? If what I'm currently, if I read a book though, it's usually a book that sometimes is older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're 100% right. It's a lot of on-screen reading.
Yeah.
Which probably isn't, I should get back to the more authentic reading, but maybe later in my life.
Well, it's funny you say that I really, building my businesses, did get really into online reading. And then I started to notice that my attention span was messed up. Mm-hmm. And so when I did want to read a book, it was like I would read just maybe a page or two, and then all of a sudden I would lose my train of thought.
Yep.
And so I started going more back to regular books in order to get my that distraction level down. And it has been helpful. So just as a side note.
Yeah, no, I think I would 100% struggle with that too. It's been a while, and I've, when you have AI and when you have, you search anything and it instantly tells you what you need to know, it can kill that.
Yes.
that patience or whatever.
Yes. I'm trying to be really good. Like, I don't skip ahead in the book. It's just like, what's the ending here? I'm
Yeah.
not that person, but so I am trying to retrain myself. Okay, now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game time. In honor of your visit, we are going to play random trivia. So I am going to give you 5 random trivia questions with 3 multiple choice, and you have to guess what the correct answer is. And if you get 3 out of the 5 correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO Show. Which,
Sweet.
Jackson, you're really going to want that in your life.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. And these are courtesy of AI. And I can't wait. One of these questions, I'll just go and then I'll tell you when we get to the question. Okay.
Sweet.
Number 1, which planet has the shortest day? Is it A, Mars, B, Jupiter, or C, Mercury?
Let's see here. Let's go Mars.
That's wrong. That was A. It's B, Jupiter, which I think my son was trying to teach me that Jupiter is the Roman god, like the same as Zeus. So there's something there with why they name planets, but I don't know it. Okay. Number 2. This is the one that I actually had to look up because it shows like the different generations. So what is the official motto of the U.S. Air Force? Is it A, aim high, fly, fight, win, B, semper fidelis, or C, this will defend?
Wow, that one's tricky. I said the first one so many times, but like, I don't know if that's the motto.
Well, I'm going to give it to you. That is the motto.
Okay.
I was like, AI is full of crap. And so then I started researching it, and it dated me that the Air Force motto was in this aim high, fly, fight, win was established in 2010. So that's well
Right.
after I got out. So anyway, so it's currently the motto, but I didn't know that. So yeah, you probably said it over and over again, but it is the motto.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sure it was drilled into you.
100%.
I have the core values down, but okay. So you get that one. Number 3, which company created the first widely used graphical web browser? Was it A, Microsoft, B, Netscape, or C, Apple? The first.
So we'll say Microsoft.
No, it's Netscape, according to the internet. Well, I'm sorry,
Netscape.
according to AI.
I've never actually heard of that.
Yes.
But it does sound like an older name. That would have been a pretty good
It
guess.
is.
So.
And I know it, but it is really old. So probably, okay, that one wasn't fair. It's just showing our generational gap here.
I should have guessed that based on that name.
Yes.
For sure.
Okay. What is the only U.S. state that grows coffee commercially on a large scale? Is it A, California, B, Florida, or C, Hawaii?
Scale. Let's say California.
You were close, but it was Hawaii.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good
All right.
at this, aren't I?
So one more. What does the word entrepreneur roughly mean in French? And if you get this one wrong, I just want you to know I have no idea. So here it is. A, risk taker. B, one who undertakes. Or C, business owner. So it's the French word for entrepreneur. Let me read them again. A, risk taker. B, one who undertakes. Or C, business owner.
I want to say business owner, but I don't think it is. Let's go with B.
That is correct. It is one who undertakes, which makes sense.
I was thinking like the philosophy, like it would be like, a philosophical thing. So that makes sense.
Yes. So you got 2 right, so you don't get bragging rights, but I really appreciate you playing the game and being a good sport and being on the show. Can you tell everybody listening where they can learn more about you and the work you're doing?
Yeah, on the web, benefitry.io, and then on the App Store, Benefitry.
Benefitry. I was saying it wrong the whole time. Benefitry. Okay. All right. I will be sure to link to all of that in the show notes for everybody. Thank you again, Jackson. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lacey.